Economic Development Minister Ebrahim Patel has delivered his 1.7 billion rand budget vote in Parliament. The minister beginning by reminding South Africans that the country's first democratically elected president, Nelson Mandela, was sworn into office on this day 24 years ago, while Patel saying 102,000 jobs have been created during the year. We cross now to our Cape Town studio where the minister is standing by for us. Minister, good evening, and thank you very much for your time. In your speech, you are sounding rather optimistic, especially given that the economic climate, although it might not be the best picture that it could have been, but certainly looking much more optimistic than it was last year when you had to set down your budget.
Good evening, Kathy, and to all the viewers too. In fact, I think that's right, yes. The economy is beginning to get a bit of traction. A year ago, when I addressed Parliament, the growth rate was 0.3%. We're now at 1.3%. Not where we need to be. We're now at 102,000 new jobs. But these are signs that we're going in the right direction, and we now need to speed up, boost it, and bolster it. And the budget vote today was an opportunity to set out some of the things in the economic development portfolio that we can do to build on that traction, to grow the economy and to create more jobs.
And certainly there is quite a bit that you put down, but perhaps very briefly, just let's talk about the headline programs, if I can put it that way, for your department. In your view, what are the key ones that you're going to be engaging with this year?
There are four key areas for the year. The one is economic inclusion, making sure that the economy not only grows, but it grows for young people, for black industrialists, for women. Not only because these are imperatives of our democracy. You reminded us that 24 years ago, Madiba took his oath of office, and he said, let there be jobs, and let there be bread and water and salt. In other words, very practical things that people need. So we need to not only do it for political reasons, but young people, black industrialists, women, can help to grow this economy. We are passing a law on competition. We've published the Competition Amendment Bill, and this will bring opportunities for the competition authorities to do a little bit more to deal with economic concentration, so that our economy has an opportunity for those township entrepreneurs that want to come in to bake bread or to make a tin of baked beans or to provide tourism services or indeed any of those things. Accompanying that will be a major focus on things that can be done using the existing laws. So we're going to crack down more on cartels. That's when companies sit in corners and fix prices or keep new entrants out. And we're also going to put some more money into youth empowerment, bringing young people into the economy, drawing on their skill and their aptitudes. The second big area is investment. President Ramaphosa raised the bar for all of us when he spoke of $100 billion that we need to aim for in the next 5 years. One of the agencies that report to economic development is the IDC, the Industrial Development Corporation. And I've set a target for them that in the next 5 years, they must mobilize from their own resources about 110 billion rands. And of course, each rand that the IDC puts in, it also brings resources from the private sector, the counterparties in the investment. So we hope that that can increase to more than 2, perhaps even 300 billion rand over this period. Linked to that is a major focus on localization, getting the big retailers, companies and government to work together to source more from South African manufacturers. It will mean changes in how we do business as government. We will have to, instead of importing trains, we'll have to buy the trains locally. It will mean changes from the retail sector. I cited examples of big companies like Edcon and Massmart that are beginning to do the right thing and building the opportunity. You know, years ago, Massmart and government were at loggerheads I was happy to announce today that Massmart have been sourcing about 800 million rands worth of goods from small players, from black-owned companies, from South African companies. And one of those companies, a charcoal maker, is now exporting to the global Walmart stores in New Zealand, in the United Arab Emirates, in Zambia and elsewhere. Now, these are examples of what we can do to get the economy going again. And finally, I spoke about technology. The fourth industrial revolution is going to change the way in which our societies and our economies operate. South Africa needs to be there. We need to make sure we invest in R&D, we invest in the skills of our people, and we seize the opportunities, and we shape the policies to make sure technology supports human beings rather than that it hurts society.
Minister, you've spoken about, the Competition Commission, and we'll unpack some of the other matters that you've touched on too, in terms of the 4 key things you're going to be concentrating on. But given the fact that the Competition Commission has the bulk of your budget that has been set down, and there's no question about the good work that they have been doing, in response to your statement today, the DA already raising concerns about the Competition Amendment Bill, which you see as being part of the answer to youth unemployment in this country, and the fact that perhaps you're being too ambitious in terms of the targets that you're expecting the Competition Commission to get done under it, given the fact that they are already overwhelmed by a lot of work.
You know, Kathy, when you have large problems, you need a large ambition. And what we have been able to show is that the competition authorities are effective. They know how to do their work, and we need to resource them better. But what the Competition Amendment Bill will do, it will raise the question of economic concentration when ownership is in the hands of too few people, and the result is that it leaves out small businesses and black South Africans. Now, not all economic concentration can be prohibited. Some of them are actually very necessary. If you build large South African companies that are global players that go out there and grab market share for us and create jobs in South Africa, and if they don't have the effect of stunting the growth of small business and excluding black South Africans, then we should celebrate those companies. But there are also the other example where in fact the structure of the economy locks millions of South Africans out. And in the long run, it is not a sustainable path. And when we look at economies with high growth rates and with high levels of employment, they do so because they create inclusive economies. They create opportunity. And so I understand that there will be a degree of criticism from perhaps those who currently dominate markets. But if we are to have a more equal society, if we are to deal with the challenges of inclusion and inequality, if we are to do that successfully, the Competition Act must play its role. It can't do so alone. We need to do a few other things as government, and it needs a coordinated push, local procurement, licensing regimes, all sorts of other things, and of course a deep investment in skills development for young people. When you have skilled young people emerging from our universities and from our vocational colleges, they can help to drive this economy and take it to new heights. So in fact, I'm very confident that the competition side can contribute greatly to inclusive growth. And
Minister, just briefly, because we have run out of time, I mean, through the various projects, whether it's the Tirisano Fund, which has also gotten a significant chunk of your budget, the IDC, all of this points to, this idea of economic transformation and the government's agenda of building black industrialists. There are, of course, questions around who gets to benefit from all of these projects, who are the main recipients of these projects, and to the extent that you're aware of these concerns, what are the mechanisms in place in terms of monitoring and evaluation to ensure that there is transparency when these contracts are issued out and that money is not simply revolving in the hands of the elite?
I think that's a fair issue, and let's be quite blunt about it. Many South Africans are concerned that it's only politically connected people women South Africans, and I quoted many examples today in the budget speech, who have no particular connection with a cabinet member, who are prospering, who are taking the opportunity and are helping us to grow the economy. But we must also act against corruption wherever we find it, because corruption seeps away resources that really belong to the nation as a whole. And the other part of what we need to do is to communicate to our people where the opportunities are. I'm asking the agencies, do more roadshows in townships and in rural areas. Make sure, young South Africans in particular, because young people are our future, that they know how to access government resources.
All right, that's all we have time for tonight, Minister. Thanks for coming on to Newsnight. Economic Development Minister Ebrahim Patel.